We don't hear the recording is in progress anymore?
No, I'm just recording on the
Oh,
wall.
all right. Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to call the July 6th regular meeting of the Police and Fire Commission to order. We'll begin with roll call. Commissioner Dorf?
Here.
Commissioner Cobb?
Present.
And we're expecting Commissioner Laux to be signing in on Zoom. He's out of town, and I'm expecting Commissioner Roloff to arrive sometime in the near future. And I'm President Goldhar. You all received the agenda in the mail. If there are no changes or questions on that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, you received 3 sets of minutes online. Those were from the regular meeting held February 2nd and special meetings of February 14th, March 2nd, March 9th, and April 25th. So if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve all of those sets of
Move
minutes.
to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dorf.
And second.
Second by Commissioner Cobb. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, information. I don't have anything new to report, so we'll turn it over to Chief Davis.
So from Green Bay Police, we currently, staffing-wise, are down to 182 officers. We've had some departures since the last time we met. Still looking okay in terms of recruiting. And then we sent out the weekly statistical and media updates just before this meeting, so those are in your inboxes if you have any questions. Other than that, operationally, we are still seeing, a fairly significant workload with summer, and even getting as close as we've gotten to full staffing. We're in discussions at the very beginnings of the budget process to add some number of positions in the next year, but obviously we're at the beginning of that, the budget development process, and so we'll see where that takes us. Submitted some recommendations just today to the mayor's office along those lines.
Okay, so these will be changes in base staffing, not necessarily the
Correct.
the overhire.
Right. Yeah, we still have the 6 officer overhire authorization through the end of the year. Obviously, we haven't gotten into that yet because we keep just kind of getting right up close to our 187 sworn number and then take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But we're, compared to where we've been, we're still tracking in the right direction. It's just taking longer than we would like it to.
Okay. Any more questions for the chief or anything else?
Any updates on like the police to peace work or any of the other initiatives?
Sure, we had Police to Peace here last month. We did 1 training session, and then we're working with them to train our own trainers so that we can roll the rest of that training out department-wide. We had 1 training session with, while we had their instructor in town for a day, where we filled the room in the training division with police employees. Seems like it's been pretty well received. It's, again, it's just not something that really clashes with the organizational culture all that much. We also did a public forum. Their instructor who they assigned to us, he and I did a public forum. Didn't have a super big attendance, but we had good discussion there. It was pretty well received in the community. But we're hoping to have that all done by the end of the year and everybody through that process. And they've got a lot of online resources that we're able to connect people to. All of the command staff has been through the online training and has done a training session with their instructor for command people.
Do you advertise those opportunities through the GBLNC, Green Bay Neighborhood Leadership Council, GBNLC?
I don't know. The comms unit did all of the outreach for that, and I'm not sure what channels they used.
Okay, any other questions? Actually, I will take a mulligan on the president's report. I sat through the interview panel for detectives, and I can say is the future is bright. There's very strong investigative and just overall skills in this department for filling positions moving forward. So I was very pleased with the candidates and the result.
So somebody's been doing a good job in hiring officers.
Yeah, over the last 100 years, yeah. There you go. All right, next item is consideration with possible action on the following communications: the budget status report and the budget spreadsheet. You'll notice in the budget status report that the police side of it shows no money budgeted. There was a miscommunication about where that money would be budgeted, whether with the city or the police department, and that's being resolved. So we will have money to continue to hire people, although I am going to pass the hat here at the end of the meeting to help supplement that. So that should be in place. Spending-wise, we're in good shape relative to what we typically spend in those areas. And on the budget spreadsheet, you'll notice all of the expenses are hiring related, either advertising, physicals, background checks, those types of things. So if there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion to receive those and place on file, both the budget status report and the budget spreadsheet.
Motion to receive and place on file.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Cobb, seconded by Commissioner Dorf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Consideration with possible action on the request to approve the monthly bills. All the bills are in the packet, again, all related to hiring, backgrounds, physicals, those types of things. If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to authorize payment.
Move to pay the bills.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dorf.
And second.
Second by Commissioner Cobb. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. And finally, consideration with possible action on a police caption promotional process, and that's been a change from our previous one. That process was in your package, and I'll ask Chief Davis to share any highlights.
Sure, really, in a nutshell, this is just a request to change the captain's process to what we already do. For the commander process, we've made that change, I believe, last year. I think this gives opportunity, hopefully, for a little bit more community input, and then, I like to do a chief's interview with people at that senior command level to make sure that these are people who are with the program in terms of the direction of the organization, the cultural changes that we're trying to make. So we think this will be a significant improvement. I think the commander's process went really well. So we'd just like to expand that process.
So, just so I'm clear, so once we get through the process, anyone that scores above 70 on the interview and goes through all these other items will be placed on the list in no set order. And then when a specific vacancy occurs, then you'll come to the committee and say, this is the specific captain's role, who you recommend? And then we go through the last two, or?
I think the preference would be to establish an equally ranked captain's list based on this process, and then when we have a vacancy, I would pick the person that we recommend to the commission for that vacancy, and then have that discussion with the commission, if that makes sense, rather than I'm trying to steer us away, and I know that I've noticed that this is the way we typically look at promotions, is not just the rank, but also the role that we want that person in. And we run into that with the union when it comes to sergeant's promotions. And what I am suggesting is that we look at it more like we're selecting people's based on their suitability for the rank itself, whatever position you have them in. And then for something like a captain or a commander, the place where we make the fit to the position is once we find out what position is open. That's why it's an equally ranked list.
Okay. So I asked the question for that. When I said we, I was thinking the interview team, not the commission. So if that captain's spot became available, the interview team would be asked, out of the list of people that team indicated were acceptable candidates, then they would recommend one and then that would come into play in your decision on your final recommendation to the commission. Am I reading that right in here?
No, the interview team would not necessarily, if we have captain vacancies in the organization when we run the test, then we could certainly seek input from the interview team as to who's more suitable for which vacancy. But unanticipated vacancies, what I would be asking the selection committee to do is just evaluate someone's suitability to be a captain in the organization.
Okay.
There are few enough positions, I think that's the right way to go. And then when the time comes, depending on where the vacancy is, it's an equally ranked list of all the people who survived the process, if you will. And then I would base my recommendation to the PFC for who to promote into that vacancy on my evaluation of their suitability for that specific role.
Okay, all right. I understand. Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cobb, a second by Commissioner Dorf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, so approved process. And now the next two items are both closed session items. So I will read the closed session statement for both of those. We'll do one vote to go into closed session. We'll cover both of those items, and then coming out of closed session, I will give a report separately on the two items. And to our visitor in here, once we finish the vote to go into closed session, then we'll have to ask you to depart. And since that's the last item on the agenda, once we're done, I would suggest you go about your merry way after that. We're not trying to throw you out, but there's no other business after that completes. So the first one is consideration with possible action on the review of patrol officer candidate backgrounds. The commission may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.85, paragraph 1, sub C and F Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. The commission may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to sections 19.85, paragraph 2 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. And then item number 5, interviews with patrol officer candidates. Please take note that pursuant to sections 19.85, paragraph 1, sub C and F Wisconsin statutes, the commission may convene in closed session for the purpose of interviewing, evaluating, and considering employment of patrol officer candidates. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cobb, second by Commissioner Dorf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, we're in closed session. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right. We are back in open session. While in closed session, we completed agenda items 4 and 5. We reviewed 10 backgrounds. We removed 9 of those from the hiring process for a variety of reasons, including voluntary withdrawal and rejections for not meeting our standards. We completed for item number 5, we completed 1 interview with the candidate and are choosing to continue that candidate in the hiring process. And with that, I'll ask for a vote to confirm that report.
Motion?
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Cobb to confirm that report.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dorf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right. With that, that was our final agenda item, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Commissioner Dorf, seconded by Commissioner Cobb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?